Welcome back everyone. So in the last video we solved interval cancellation, and in this video we are going to solve promise time limit. Okay, so we are given an asynchronous function fn and a time in t milliseconds. We have to return a time limited version of the input function fn. So fn takes arguments provided to a time limited function. Now the time limited function should follow these rules. If fn completes within the time limit of t milliseconds, time limited function should resolve with the result. But if the execution of the fn exceed the time limit, the time limited function should reject with the string time limit exceeded. So let's see first example. So in the first example, this fn function takes 100 milliseconds. Okay, and the input is 5 and the maximum time limit is 50 milliseconds. So this is obviously going to reject it because the time limit is 50 milliseconds and the functions take around 100 milliseconds. So this will be rejected with the string time limit exceeded. Let's see example 2. So in the example 2, time limit is 150 milliseconds and the function completes around 100 milliseconds. So it will be resolved with the value of n, that is 5 multiplied 5, 25. In the example 3, it will be resolved because the maximum time is 150 milliseconds and the function take 120 milliseconds to complete. So the result will be a plus b, that is 15. Example 4 throws an error inside the function. So no matter what the time limit is, it will always be rejected with an error. So how should we solve this problem? So you see, we have two things here. First, there is a timer that is going to run for t milliseconds, and then there is another thing that is going to execute the function. So these two things should run parallelly. It depends on which one is completed first. So if timeout completes first, it will reject. But if the function completes first, it will return the value. So one thing is clear, we have to run two things parallelly. So let's run the set timeout. So if timeout is executed successfully, we will reject this value. So we'll reject with time limit exceeded. So after t milliseconds, this function will be executed, which will reject this promise with time limit exceeded. So we have to return a promise here. Return new promise. This promise accept two value, that is either resolve or reject. So what we will do is we will reject after t milliseconds, but we have to run parallelly another thing that will execute our function. So we will run another promise dot resolve. We have to resolve with the value, and what value it is, that is function dot apply null and arguments. So this is a promise, and we'll do then, and inside the then we will get the result, and we have to resolve with the result. And before resolving the result, we have to cancel the timeout. So let's store the subscription, timeout subscription. We will clear this timeout. Okay, and resolve with this result. And now there might be the cases that before even this promise is resolved, this timeout is executed, and what it will do is it will reject. Okay, and this promise is rejected. So this promise, will it always be resolved? Okay, so we are calling promise.resolve with this value, and after resolving, what you do is cancel this timeout and then return the result. But if this promise is not resolved, and in what case this promise will not be resolved, let's see. So example 4 has a function that throws an error. Okay, and this error is what's logged inside the output. So this function we are calling here, if this function is throwing an error, then this promise will not going to resolve. It will what? Throw an error. So we have to catch that error. So this is an error. And what we have to do with this error? We have to clear the timeout. And since we are clearing the timeout multiple times, let's do this. Finally, we'll clear the timeout. Okay, no matter what, if it is catching the error or resolving. Now this promise is resolving, and in doing so it will resolve with a value or it will resolve with an error. We are going to resolve, okay, so we are going to resolve this with error only. Now let's see the result of this. Okay, so our test case has been failed. Okay, so the issue is set timeout. It's not set timeout. Okay, so our last test case has been rejected. So let's see. We are returning resolved with an error. And we have to, okay, when we catch an error, we have to reject this is an error. Okay. Okay, so all the test case has been passed. And now I'll try to submit this. Okay, so our solution got accepted. Now let me explain you once again. So instead of calling apply, what you can do is you can spread these arguments inside this function. Okay. Now what we are doing is we are running two things parallelly. First, set timeout. So what it will do is after the t milliseconds, it will reject this promise. But we are also running another promise. What it will do is it will resolve with the result of this function. Now the result of this function can be any proper output. So in that case, we will resolve. But if this function throws something, then the promise will reject. And in that case, we will also reject with an error. Okay. And in either case, whether it is resolved or rejected, we will clear the timeout so that this function won't be executed after resolving, okay, or rejecting inside this resolve promise. So that's what we are doing. So now let's submit. Since we have made a change here, we are spreading these arguments inside this function. So our test case has been passed. Now I will try to submit this. And our solution got accepted.